Hello, everybody. How we doing today? Please feel free to type in the chat. Let me know that you can hear me loud and clear. How are we? How are we? This is a fun one. We're on the Asian school side, so we are doing some, hey, what's happenings after we get licensed? What's going on out there? Stu, help us. Because a lot of you guys have been asking questions such as, Stu, this market is absolutely crazy, craziness. How are we getting our offers won? How are we getting to a point where we can actually be successful in this market? Because Stu, I've heard that you have said that you've perfected the money dance. The money dance is where you wiggle a little bit in your seat and money comes raining from the skies. And we need to be doing the money dance more frequently than we are not doing the money dance, because the money dance is extremely super duper important. Because guess what? Without money, honey, okay? Without money, honey, we are not going to be real estate agents for that long. We are then going to go flip burgers. We're going to go to our local for you West Coasters. You are going to be going flipping burgers at In-N-Out Burger. It is an amazing, wonderful place, but you want to go just to visit. You do not want to be flipping burgers there. So we need to help you get your offers accepted. Hey. So, how many of you guys have actually started working out there? How many of you guys realize how absolutely crazy bonkers it is? Give me a big smile, okay? Maybe it's a smile. This Jonathan said, I passed yesterday. Thank you so much. Congrats, Jonathan. Welcome to the wonderful world of agenting. Okay, that's what I refer to it as, the wonderful world of agenting. So, what I'm going to tell you guys is this. I want to know how many of you guys have actually written an offer. Tell me in the chat if you've written an offer, if it's been a multiple offer situation. Tell me. I want to know if you guys who are here with me live, if you've experienced this kind of craziness, okay? Let me know. And also, if you have written an offer for a buyer, okay? So if any of you newbies, if any of you Stubby newbies have written an offer, let me ask this question. How many offers did you end up competing against? I want to know that. Were you in a crazy multiple offer situation? You know, because it looks like across the country, I'm hearing crazy stories about people who are in multiple offer situations where 30, 40, crazy amounts of offers. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to take the time out to talk to you guys about what type of strategies you could start to go and adopt in your business to make you successful. Naomi said, and I hope I pronounced your name correctly, a friend was competing with 22 offers. Wow. Did your friend win? Did your friend win that offer? And if not, did they give you any tips or tricks, or did they have anyone that helped them? Because guess what? What you might want to do is this, and remember, you guys, I have a job for you because we're on the Agent School site. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, okay? And because this is something that I do want to make sure that you share this out with your friends, family, and people who are trying to compete in this market. Okay. And Bernadette said, yes, this market is seriously a seller's market. It really is. Oh my God, that is fantastic. Naomi said that she did. Her clients were so happy. And my friend was the agent. That is fantastic. So if you do have any tips or pointers, please feel free to write it in the chat. But what I'm going to tell you is this. And I'm seeing a couple more of you guys. So Bernadette wrote in, I had a cash offer, that was $65,000 over asking price, and I still lost the bid. Wow. And that's why I thought that this was super important for me to speak with you guys about what are some ways that you could start winning? So let's get some earballs up here. What are you guys? I'm going to ask you guys in the chat, okay? I'm going to ask you guys in the chat, what are some ways that you think you can best prepare yourself and your buyers to win in a multiple offer situation? What are some of the best ways that you think you could come out on top of a situation where you have 22 offers, and you could be like Naomi's friend, okay? And you could get to a point where you are the top offer. Or maybe you're not necessarily the top offer, because that's what I'm seeing a lot of times. I'm seeing a lot of times that the offer that comes in is not necessarily the best offer. It might be an offer that had some intangibles in it, or it was presented in a way that was really, really, really wonderful. Okay? So Mike put a good thing in here. Make sure your buyers are able to eliminate as many contingencies as possible, if not all. Okay? Yeah, those are going to help. Okay? And K. Hep said, ask which moving date would best suit the seller. And Bernadette said it's difficult to know what the top offer is. Agents are not sharing this info, as they should not be, because that's something that some states it's actually not allowed. Okay. And a lot of you guys are saying, yes, offer more money and eliminate contingencies. Patricia said presentation. So, guys, there's a lot of stuff here. And what I did this past week in preparation for this webinar, what I did was I asked some of the top agents and top brokers across the country. I had them sit down with Stu and tell me, and I said to them, I said, as concisely as possible, tell me some of the things that you are telling your agents or that you have found to be successful in helping your buyers get prepared. So I asked one agent who is actually a broker out in New York State. He owns a large brokerage. And I said to him, I said, elevator pitch. How are you getting your buyers to win? And he said, Stu, my buyers are very, very aware of what's going on. And let's get a G in there. What's going on? And we set expectations. So I said, oh my gosh, that is absolutely so true. We have to set expectations, because what if a buyer gets shell-shocked that they're going up against 22 offers? What? I'm not just going into the house offering asking price and coming out on top. Nay, my good friends. Nay, you're not just doing that, okay? Mike said have cash and $100,000 over asking price helps in the Bay Area. Oh, certain areas, yeah. You have to have a lot of scuttle. You have to have a lot of money. So when I talk about setting expectations, I always have, and Karen said, and this is a great question, because this is a really, I think, the question when we're talking about this. What are some of those expectations? Okay. What are some of the expectations that we should be setting with buyers? So Karen, this goes two ways, and I'm going to explain to you what some of those ways are. Number one, as a real estate professional in a certain area, I wake up. So listen to what Stu does, okay? I'm going to give you a Stu tip right now, okay? Like what my day usually is as a real estate broker when I was actively selling, okay? We're going to put another Post-it note here because Stu loves the Post-it notes, okay? We're going to put a Post-it note here and we're going to say this, okay? This is what we're going to say. Bottom line is, Stu wakes up every morning. Wake up, check MLS, review sales, and learn about my market. So I learn about my market. I have coffee every single morning, and I would absolutely make sure I knew how much homes were selling for, how much over asking price the homes were selling for, what the average. So every day I would put on my whiteboard. I have a little whiteboard in my office, and I would change it. And I would update it and say, what is the average sale price of the homes? What is just sold? What has sold tomorrow. I mean, but listen, I don't know what is sold tomorrow. I don't have the crystal ball. What is sold yesterday, right? What has changed? How many new homes have come on the market? I would put that down. That would take me about 20 to 30 minutes. I would have coffee with my, with my family, and I'd have my laptop out there, and I would just basically make sure I educated myself every single day so that I was prepared for buyer meetings. Meet your buyers. I don't care what happens. I don't care if you do a Zoom meeting, Zoomy meeting, okay? Meet your buyers, whether it's virtual or in person, okay? Where you feel comfortable, when it's appropriate, definitely go and meet them in person. Have a cup of coffee with them. Have a cup of joe, okay? That is something that is going to help you. And what I recommend doing, because a lot of you guys are looking to me and saying, hey, the situation is this. Stu, what do we do? Okay. What do we do in regards to, setting those expectations like Karen was asking me? Okay. I will tell you one of my favorite tools, okay? And you could actually Google this. There's some people that sell them on Etsy. There's a lot of different ones. Your brokerage might have one. You might want to get something like this for yourself. But what I do is this. I create, and if you guys could see it, I'm going to see if it comes up really nice and beautiful on my screen or if it does not, okay? I have about a 20-page questionnaire that I've created in Canva where I put little quotes in, and I do the cutesy stuff, table of content, and I customize it for myself, and I put a note in here. It looks really super cute. I have it printed at a Kinko's and stuff like that, and I have it bound and stapled so that it looks really professional, okay? And it doesn't cost me a ton. And I put all my stuff in here, and I have this ready to go. And what happens is this, I even put some client things in here. This one I haven't fully flushed out yet because I usually do very colorful things. And then someone said to me, Stu, you have to create one that is a little more subdued, a little more toned down, because a lot of people that work with me are like, I would like something, but not as flashy because I'm a very colorful kind of guy. So I always sit down and I talk through these things. So what's great about having a home buyer questionnaire is that you have a copy of all this stuff. You have basically just a guide, okay, for all this different stuff where you could just basically just go through. You don't even need to think about it, okay? You don't even need to think about it, okay? You just go through, say, hey, what's the best name, email, is there any notes in here, pets? It goes through like a whole bunch of things. I basically asked my agents when creating it, like, hey, what are some things that you're asking your buyers in a buyer consultation? Okay. And this just asks some pretty simple ones. Have you seen any homes that you've really liked? If so, why didn't you buy it? Why didn't you pull the trigger? Who will be living with you in the home? Are there any home features that are most important? And what happens is this is such a pretty little thing that what I like to do is I typically do this. This is like my claim to fame. What I do is when we are actually filling this out, what I do is I actually type it all in, okay? And then what I do, if you really want to be like a rock star, say to them, so I'll be sitting down and I'll be typing all this in. Then I actually run off to Kinko's and I get like 1 or 2 copies printed. And what I do is I have it printed with all their stuff that they've had it in here. And the situation is this. I have it printed with all their information right in there, and it's really, really, really impressive, and they love it. And we even talk about what style home they want, and this just looks really clean. And again, for someone who is, so as you guys see, I'm pretty talkative, so I don't need something like this to help me through a buyer consultation. I kind of know the nose, but what I'm going to tell you is this. Some of you guys probably are not maybe as, like, maybe you need more guidance as far as like, hey, what is a good, what is a good strategy for me to talk about. Like, what should I be asking them? Like, what are these things? And here's the thing, sometimes when I'm going through this is great too, because I basically sometimes forget certain things. Sometimes because, I have little pea brain, okay? And I get distracted by something. I see a little car going across the street, and I'm like, oh my God, I forgot what I was doing. So this also gives me a nice structure. And I've created stuff like this, and I've done the research. And here's the thing. A lot of you guys might want something similar to this. There's templates on Etsy that you could buy. There are a lot of different programs out there. Your broker might have one. Again, I offer this to my agents because I say to them, this is a great, fantastic, wonderful thing that you could have. You could have notes in there. And I just organized it to the point that I had everything. And I also put and you want to know what else I did too? Like, if you want to know if you want to actually pay nothing, okay, listen to this. And this is me personally. If you want to pay nothing, I'm going to tell you a great tip. So listen, because you guys like free, right? So listen. What I do here in the contact information page, I show this to my preferred attorney and my preferred mortgage broker and my preferred home inspectors. And I say to them, what I do here is this. I'm going to include your information. So what I do is I don't pose this as I'm pitching something to them. So I ask them, listen, since you're my preferred lender, I'm going to include you in here. So the reason for me, talking to you today, and I even asked them, so beforehand, what I'm going to do is this. I'm going to call my mortgage broker and say, hey, do you have like 10 or 15 minutes to go on a Zoom with me? And they would say, sure, not a problem. And you would have this all filled out already with your info, your company logo on there, everything, so it would look like nice and finished. And you would say, hey, look, I'm going to include you into this brochure. I'm going to run off some copies over at Kinko's, things like that. So first, I really want to know what is the best contact information that you would want me to provide to my clients in this booklet, because you're going to be my preferred mortgage broker in here. So I'm not going to put anyone else in there. And they're going to be like, wow, you're going to put me in there? Be like, yeah, you're going to be highlighted. So you're going to be on there as far as my important phone numbers. And they're going to say, great, here's a great contact information. And you say, fantastic. And you say, look, to offset the expense of doing this, what I'm doing is this. I'm charging my lenders, $30 a month so that I could run off copies of these and have as much as possible. Is that something you're okay with? Is that something that you would, because what you could say is, I'm just trying to offset the cost so that it doesn't cost, as I'm printing these out, it's not costing me a ton of money. And what happens is they're usually fine with, hey, I'll give you $30. Yeah. And that's going to save you money. That's going to be something that you share in the value, because also too, they might even say to you, and you can say to them this, I've done this with certain mortgage brokers or certain home inspectors. I've said, hey, however many I run off for the month, would you mind, covering the cost with me? Would you mind splitting the expenses? And guess what? Now you're going to get all this beautiful marketing material printed up for you, and it's going to cost you nothing, because guess what? We need to do the money dance where the money rains from the skies, not the money out dance where you're just spending money on different things and all that kind of stuff. So, and again, I really like this one. This was something that I printed out, and I put some bonus pages where you have tour feedback, online search notes. I just did like a bunch of different things that I thought were important for my agents to have in here. And I even did like a simplified one. So this one was something that I really liked putting together. And here's the thing. You'll also see I have in regards to past webinars, I did a webinar on Canva where you could get a little bit of more of an insight. Okay. So what happens is this, there's a lot of different templates out there. You could do some searches and you could get stuff fairly cheap. I think I might have paid for the base of this template. I might have paid something like $9 for something like this. But I've tweaked it, I've changed it, I've played around with it a little bit. So that's a really good tip that I give you guys. Wake up in the morning, know your market, and then have buyer meetings where you go through something, okay? And in the buyer meeting, have beautiful, wonderful printed material. Makes you look professional to the buyer. Because here's the thing. This is why do you want to look professional to the buyer? Why do you want to look like you know what you're doing, like that you know how to drive a car, okay? Because here's what happens, okay? I'm going to tell you a quick story. This might be a funny story, okay? I had to have ankle surgery done. And I had, because I'm a very big sports guy, and I have had reconstructive surgery on probably I think I've had 3 ankle surgeries and 1 shoulder surgery. And the ankle surgeries, I'll never forget this. I'll never forget this. And this made me understand optics so well. And I understood listen, this doctor might have been absolutely fantastic, but I chose not to go with him, and I can tell you why. So the doctor sits down in the room, and this was a surgery that was going to be done in 2002, and he said, we have to cut your ligaments and then bolt them back to your ankle, okay, because my ligaments were all stretched out. And so I asked a very, logical question. I said, okay, so what's the complications if you overshoot it, you make it too tight? He said, you're going to have complications walking. It's going to be painful for you to walk. I said, okay, how do you know where to cut? Like, is there a length? Is there like a thing? He goes, we eyeball it. Now, in general, if you're just hearing this story, you'd probably sit there and say, oh, that sounds fine. He's probably done 1,000 of these. That's correct. He has done 1,000 of these. However, you were not sitting there in the office, in the doctor's office, looking at the doctor, and he had... Okay, the doctor might have been 60-something years old, so he's not an old guy, okay? His glasses, have you ever seen the grandma glasses that make your eyeballs about 8 times as big? Okay, the Coke bottle glasses, I call them, okay? Where basically, those are the glasses he was wearing as he was presenting me with the strategy of we are going to eyeball it. I looked at my father. I was young. I was 18, 19. I looked at my father, and we both basically shook his hand and said, thank you so much. And we left. So listen, professional, and optics matter. So if you come in and you have a buyer's meeting and you know your MLS material, you know your stuff, okay? You know what your market is, and you're coming in with this professional little stuff. I mean, that's stuff that other agents aren't doing. And you're like, you're basically sitting there coming across super professional. Now, when you make a recommendation to do something, okay, you're definitely at a point where you're standing with more authority. They'll take you a little more seriously. So when you tell them you got to offer this amount, you got to, cut your contingencies, like Mike was saying, hey, in the chat, he was saying, you gotta offer a lot of money. You gotta waive all your contingencies. Well, here's the thing. I will trust you a lot more, Mike, if I know that you know the knows, that you've done the research, and what you're saying comes from a position of authority. You have to have authority, and you have to earn that right, okay? You have to earn that before you get to the point where you could actually stand there and say, this is what we do. Now, I told you that that's the first step. Preparing your buyers, setting expectations, sitting down with them, and speaking to your market. Here's the thing. Speaking to the market is going to be based on you having this wake up, check the MLS review, all that kind of stuff. That gets you more familiar, okay? Bernadette said, Stu, do you think it's a good idea to join all the New Jersey MLSs or just in my specific area? Listen to me. I'm going to say this, not just New Jersey specific, but I am going to say for everyone across the country, speak to people who are working within the area that you want to work in and ask them what MLSs you should join. That is a very, very centric thing. I do not join, listen to me. I do not spend extra money on things that I do not want to spend money on. Spend money on things that you're going to focus on. So that's that's the situation there. So again, basically that goes for the whole entire country. So wherever you are, spend money on things that you're actually going to use. I've done things in my career where I'm like, oh my God, people have sold me on things. Listen, I am the worst. I am not a good salesperson. I am an amazing, amazing person to pitch things to. If you pitch something to me, I basically sit there and I will sell it to you based on me buying it from someone else. Like the most recent thing I just bought was this meat defroster where it said it will defrost your meat. Basically, it was like that infomercial. They put on the infomercial, voice, and they went, "Wow, we could defrost a whole frozen chicken in just under 30 minutes." And you just put it on this plate and just defrost. So what happened was my wife said, "So you just put it on that plate and defrost?" And I said to her, and I put on like the infomercial voice, and I said, "Yes, you just put it on the plate, and then wow, 30 minutes later, it's gonna be all defrosted." Like 2 hours later, I'm still waiting for it to defrost. I'm like poking it with the fork. I'm like, I think it's still frozen. Sometimes what I'm going to tell you is this. I'm going to tell you, don't buy things that you don't think are going to work or you're not going to use. Don't be like me buying all these different things and then saying, oh man, this best things in sliced bread. Do things that you're going to use. And someone said, hey, what's your thoughts on cold calling? And I'm going to get back to the buyer presentations and how you should be presenting offers in a second. But cold calling, it's not for everybody. I don't poo-poo on it. And the beautiful thing is if you ask Joe, okay, if you ask Joe what his thoughts are, he thinks that social media is the bee's knees, absolutely fantastic, wonderful, amazing, okay. And it's something that you should be social mediaing and interneting as much as possible. I say that if you are willing to get out there and cold call, I think that it's a great way to make contacts because bottom line is this. A lot of people are looking to buy leads or get leads to come to them. And that's, all well and good, but I think that basically the situation is this, make sure that you're spending time meeting people and making contacts. I think that's the most important thing, no matter how good, bad, or indifferent things might be. So someone else asked, Stu, is it a good time to be in the business since everyone can't be a seller's agent and buyer's agents are in the same boat as the buyer, competing against 35 other offers? Is this a good time? That's a great question. Look, there's never a bad time to get into the market. The situation is this. I do agree that it is a tough time, but here's the thing too. I have seen so many different markets, okay, that there's never a time that, all of a sudden the seas will part and it will open up and you will be able to say, now's the time where I'm going to make all this money. So here's the thing. Being a buyer's agent, if you are going to be working with buyers, I think that what happens is this. What I would be doing is I would be using the strategy that I'm talking to you about to weed out your buyers. I think that it would be imperative for you to work with the right buyers, right? So I think that when you're competing with someone, that if you had someone who was ready to put in super competitive offers, okay, that you were ready to put in super competitive offers and they understood the market and the expectations were set right up front, okay, then what happens is this. I think that there are buyers who are winning offers, right? There are buyers who are winning offers, and what happens is you just have to make sure that what you're doing is you're working with buyers who are going to be putting in winning offers, okay? And that's why we're talking about this. And that's why if I had to summarize it, that's like when it's a buyer's market, what happens is this. What people always ask me in a buyer's market is, Stu, how do I get my sellers to come down to a reasonable price? Because I have all these overpriced listings and none of my sellers are selling. So here's the thing. In a seller's market, it's sellers agents always keep saying to me, hey, I can't get my sellers to come to a realistic price. Okay. And what happens is that's the opposite of what you're trying to get here. So you're constantly in flux with trying to get your buyers to get to a price that's going to set them up for winning. And then you're trying to get your sellers to set them up for a price that's going to sell when it's a buyer's market. So again, what it constantly is you just move the needle one way to another. Okay. You just move the needle one way to another. And Mike said, I took the course 6 years ago, but never tested because I thought it was a bad time. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. There's that. So that goes back to what I was saying. There's never a great time. Okay. Now, something else I want to tell you that I find helps you in your offers. It's a stupid thing, but it's a stew thing, and it's another Canva related thing. And I feel like this is almost a quasi Canva, webinar, but it's not at the same token, because I think that there's just some tools that you could create there. They're absolutely fantastic, wonderful. I create a offer summary. Now, here's the thing. My offer summary is a little tongue-in-cheeky, okay? You can see I do things that are a little different. I put all those bubbles up there. I put me pointing to things. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at me, look at me, look at this. But you can make this super professional if you wanted. You can make this in a way that it was less tongue-in-cheeky. I like doing that because that is a great way to make your offer stand out, because that's easy to read. And some people, here's the thing, if I'm an agent and I'm working with the seller and someone puts this in here, okay, and they make it so that it's really a really nice, simple, clean presentation, then what happens is this. I would definitely see that and say, okay, wow, they have it together. Also, I always like putting in any kind of advertisements, any kind of things. I like to say, hey, contact me personally. That is the situation there. So I love, love, love putting things together that are going to make sense for the person you're presenting it to. Have it be a little more streamlined, okay? So that is something that I would definitely say is a great way to do it. And here's the thing. You can make it all different kinds of ways. I literally put this together within, basically 5 to 10 minutes. Okay. This was once you start getting to a point where you're proficient in Canva, you could really start playing around with it. I love doing, and here's the thing, like typically my style is this. I'll show you what my style typically is. I typically do like a whole bunch of things where I put splashes and colors in. I'm a big color kind of person. So like I love making like these little paint splashes, and I put them behind everything. And what I like to do is this. I like to change the color up a little bit. Maybe I'll make it like a white. No, I'll make it like a gray. And then you'll see. I love doing stuff. I have a ton of fun. And it looks like paint splashes. And you see, I'll put it even. I have to position it even further behind everything. Backward, backward, backward. And now there's like these paint splashes, and you do like a whole bunch of different things. And if you just want to just be like a little flary, a little flashy, okay. Bottom line is you could do a whole bunch of things depending on how much fun you want to have with it, how professional you want to look, how not professional. And like I said, I did it to set up as a more professional thing. So I took out usually the splotches, paint things, and all that kind of stuff. But you can have a ton of fun when you're doing something like this. And as you can see, I played around with it, and it only made basically got me to a point where it took me like 5-10 minutes. So someone said, Mike said, Stu, at what point do you submit this sheet to the seller? This would be my cover sheet for all of my offer paperwork. So that it's nice and put together, okay? And you could find templates. So there's a bunch of templates on Canva. I just basically picked one that was already on Canva. And then what I did was this. I also basically looked on Etsy. I looked online. There's a ton of resources on Canva. I think it's one of the most powerful tools that you have to really make a cool presentation like this. But that's my cover letter, okay? Yeah, I do have a premium Canva account. Like, that's not me basically, saying that basically, that you should be getting that. But like I said, I'm telling you where I'm creating all these things and where you could go to make this kind of stuff. So that is honestly some of the tips and tricks that I would have for you guys when you're working with buyers and when you're presenting offers to sellers agents with various different situations. Now, let me ask this. Do you guys have any last minute questions? Okay. Do you have any last minute questions before we wrap up? Yeah, I think the premium is worth it, Brielle. I do. I've used my fair share of Canva. I mean, I literally put this together in 10 minutes. Literally, I did that. So that is something that I 1000% invest in every single year. So if there's no other questions, what I want to tell you is this, guys. I had a fantastic time with you guys today. I hope you picked up some tips and tricks to help you guys out when you're working with your buyers. And I want you to know that there is never a bad time to get into real estate. And Mike asked a question, and I like this question because I'm going to tell you my 2 cents. Mike said, "Are personal letters about the buyers to the sellers too corny these days?" National Association of Realtors has sent out a official standpoint on that. That is frowned upon. That is frowned upon for several reasons. They do not want the seller making decisions on whether to choose the buyer or not based on situation where it is going to be again, they're going to make the decision based on something other than the amount, the offer, that kind of information. So someone said, when getting vendors to pay for marketing, what about RESPA? Not a RESPA violation. Vendors pay for marketing all the time, especially if it's their marketing, because bottom line is this, it's their marketing, they're on it. That's not a kickback, right? And it's not like, hey, basically, here's a situation where I'm paying you to give me business. No, what happens is this, they're paying for marketing. If your marketing is that, it's marketing dollars, that's what it is. So there's tons of times where I go in half with mortgage lenders all the time as far as marketing, because that's their marketing. Okay. So that's something that there's no violation there. It's not a kickback. That's not an incentive. That's not a referral fee for doing anything. It's marketing dollars. So that's why it's not a RESPA violation. I always say double check with your broker. Double check with how their take is on it. They might have a company policy. They might have a standpoint that they don't do stuff like that. However, I'm telling you what I've done and how I've done it and how I've seen other agents do it. Because a lot of times too, those marketing, co-marketing, you see on a lot of postcards that you get in the mail and things like that, there's 2 or 3 people on it. There might be a lender, things like that. And typically it's paid for by the lender, so that is the situation there. Brielle said, thank you so much for this webinar. Incredibly helpful. I'm glad. I hope that you did get something out of it. So guys, look, have a great, great day. Go sell some homes. Get your money dance working. You got to work on that. You got to practice it. Okay. And then I'm going to see you guys real soon. Have a great one.